What's up, Dallas? It's your girl Ray J. We are back with a fabulous guest, Mr. Derail Johnson. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for joining me on my podcast today. I really want to highlight you being an author and your books and your creativity. Like, we're just going to get all into it.
Yes, ma'am.
But for our viewers out there, could you please tell them about your books and your social media and where they can find you?
Okay. Well, as far as you can find me, my main listing is on Facebook, and that's just my name, Derail Johnson. It's spelled Derail Johnson. That's my main place you can find me. I'm also available on YouTube, but I go under my business name, DeJoe Productions 89, and that's also for my Instagram and my YouTube platforms. So I use
Awesome.
that name.
Okay, awesome. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of like your whole um, writing and your creativity style. How did you get started becoming a writer?
Well, I always, when in high school, looked at R.L. Stein books for inspiration because I've pulled mostly towards thriller and suspense stories. And even before then, I always like watching Wes Craven, James Wan, and Jordan Peele, how they do their work. Because one day I was at a friend's house and he showed me the movie Scream, and I was like, I was really blown away how he can direct and put parts, moving parts into the film, as far as like, wowing the audience, but also hooking them in from his perspective, because you have to be really intrigued and talented to be a horror film writer. But that's one of the aspects of it. I'm not just drawn into, thriller and suspense. I was raised up in the spiritual, well, I say gospel world also. So I love writing Christian books and going there with that thing. Weighing out the two, I feel that, maybe my bigger audience comes from the Christian side because I just posted, in April, I got a book coming out called Jesus, the King of Kings. And that residue of audience, I believe, is more bigger than my regular fan base as far as like the thrillers and suspense films. So I'm kind of weighing the two options. I'm like, maybe I should start writing more Christian faith versus, the thriller and suspense aspect of it. A lot of requests lately from like Christian writers, about start writing Christian things.
Mhm. Well, that's pretty awesome. Like you have this a wide multiverse of like different genre books for different readers, and that's always a good thing for authors to not just stick with just one type. But I
Hmm.
do agree. I do believe, especially nowadays, people are geared more towards Christian books, more inspirational books about faith and walking with God, especially with the recent, stuff that's been happening lately. And
Yes, ma'am.
I do feel like there's a need for that. So
Yes, ma'am.
I just I have to know, how do you create the hooks in your book? Like, you have, like you said, you have that suspense, but like with your
Hmm.
books, they tend to have like that little unexpected twist. How do you do it? Or is
Yes.
that an author secret?
No, I always when I write, I want something to be like a surprise in it. Like I gotta give you the intro, then I gotta give you the mid part, then I gotta give you the finale. But in each sweet sequence, there has to be something dramatic or like gigantic happen, because I'm always telling a story out of it. It's not just like a movie or like a book. There's something in between those stories that's happening. You have to like find out what draws you into this, because anybody can make a video or something or a movie, but it has to be something that pulls readers and audiences in. Because anybody that's like TikTok, they post all the time. But if it's not something that's gonna grab people's attention, they're not gonna look at it. So I have to like get pen and paper, and I write out a lot of times how I want my stories to go. Sometimes I'll say, "Does this sound right?" I'll be like, "No, I want to change this, or I want to tweak this." I'm always working on it until I feel that it's perfection to put out.
Mhm. Oh yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, you have to have that book that you have to catch them within like the first 15 pages, honestly,
Hmm.
to make sure that the reader is gonna stay. It's like that with
So,
audiobooks too, or like, you know, if you're just trying to get someone's attention to be drawn in, like that hook at the very beginning has to be
mhm.
intense for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So for
Yes, ma'am.
you, as an author, as a reader, what makes a good book for you?
Mm. The cover. I was always told coming in as being a new writer and a new author, your cover is what sells, or it's what gets people's attention. You can create a cover, but if it's not sticking, they'll be like, "Oh, that's a nice book," but what is drawing them into it? Like, what did you put on there? That's basically telling pretty much the whole story, kind of in a way, by your front cover, and also the back cover as well can tell the story.
I do agree with that. Like the cover has to be a great presentation of what the book is about.
Yes.
Like it has to be that one iconic picture, you know, like Huck Finn. Of
Hmm.
course, everybody knows Huck Finn, and he's got the fishing pole and everything. So, I love that. I love that you are really in depth with your books, with your writing, that you're trying to reach the readers on different levels. So, this book you have, A Family of Faith. Tell me about
Hmm.
that one and how you got these characters. Because I read the intro, I read what you sent me, and
Hmm.
it's very intriguing
Hmm.
and very suspenseful.
Yes, sir. Well, that part in that story, like I said, I was watching. Of course, this kind of resonates from Greenleaf's story, but with mine, how I wanted to write it is like based on what goes on in churches as you see of today. You can go to a church and they can seem like they're okay, but I want to tell a story what's going on behind the scenes. You know, with the story in particular, I took the Crawfords. They are a rich and powerful family, but there's a story and a catch to it. They're using the congregation as far as like a come up or a piggyback to stay on power and get more fame and more fortune. And little by little, their mantra is that they're trying to play like they're for the church and for God, but overall, they're just pulling the wool over everybody's head. And eventually, it comes back in pieces and catches up with them. Like before he met his wife, he never told his wife, the bishop, which is Eddie Crawford, one of the main characters. He never told her he had a relationship before he met her. So there's a secret child brewing that the rest of the family members they don't know about. And of course, the revival happens at the end of part one, and then they get introduced in a weird way to their brother and also to his son comes into the picture. But also, as you read part one, that lady, his mistress, not his mistress, his son's mom, she contacts his bishop and tells him, eventually you're going to have to introduce him to this family. He wants to hold it off, hold it off, hold it off. And eventually it catches up to him. So at the end of the revival, they're all introduced to their half brother in a strange way. And of course, Isaiah's the oldest brother. He's like, uh-oh. So now I have another person that's fighting for my place. So that's an whole nother different story. Then you have the first lady. It's like, this is my church. Nah, where did he come from? And so that's the ending of part one. But I said, when I sat down, me and my son helped write the story or co-post the characters. He made the characters up. I told him that this story can't be told in one part. I have to break it up into five parts. And within those five parts, It's like a chess piece to a puzzle. Each chapter and each section is gonna like bombs dropping in each one, little by little. And so the first part is done, and now the second part. So it's gonna keep getting heavier and heavier, but also hotter and hotter with each chapter. And I mean, I didn't expect for it to catch flame or catch as much attention as it did, but I feel that it is a good book. One of my I guess my main books.
And I heard you mention that that one is grasping like a lot more attention from people. Like whenever I was talking to you on Messenger, that
Hmm.
that's one of the most popular books. And you know, I think it's really because the suspense is there,
Hmm.
because it could be relatable to
Hmm.
some churches out there. It could be relatable to the power that people want to have. And to me, I was like, this sounds like something that really could have happened. Like I wouldn't put it past anybody, you know? So I asked you, I was like, is this like based on like reality? Is this really happened? Somebody you know that did this? And you're like, no, it's not fiction. It's not fiction. Which I was like, wow, that's crazy. But it makes me want to pick it up and buy it and like, you know, read it for myself. So for our viewers out there, where can they find your
Hmm.
book at?
It's available on Amazon. But I do say to understand it, you have to go back and read part one, even though part two is out. But it really is a good read for all readers out there to have in their collection.
Y'all, please go out there, go get his book. It's on Amazon. A family that tell it's like a family of faith, and then there's the
Hmm.
part two, and
Hmm.
they're both available.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then after now that we've talked about the book,
Hmm.
so you mentioned your son helping you with your writing. So
Hmm.
how does he like the whole writing and the authoring of books and creating characters? How was that experience with him?
Well, sometimes he'll come to me and say, he got this story. We can do this story or we can do that story. But also, I tell him that, in order, you just can't put a book out. You have to put something out, that people are going to grasp to, or something that's relatable, or something, that's going on in someone's life. He also helped, it's a book that's going to be coming out called The Lord's Three Angels. And in that story, it's something in particular going on with each individual. I think there's like five different individuals. You have like a cancer diagnosis, you have an HIV diagnosis, you have different things going on. But there's this man who's paralyzed, and these three angels are listening to each and everybody's like prayers because they want to be healed. And in some cases, God is listening and he goes and says, you know what? He's going to send these three angels down to help these people. And then it's like they go to sleep one night and they wake up. Whatever was happening beforehand, they wake up in totally different person than before these sickness and illnesses that happen. It's like God completely wiped it away. But these three angels are still there telling them, you've been given a second chance. So now that you got your second chance, you have to change what you did previously. So it's kind of like a divine intervention thing. I went there on that part. It's to help people see that, you may be going through these things or illnesses right now, but what if there was a time that, God could reverse it and you get a second chance? So I know that's something near and dear to people. When they get that book, they may read it, there may be tears, I try to go deep as possible when I'm writing. Like it separates the Christian versus the thriller and suspense. When I try to do more Christian, I try to be more realistic as I can. I try to pull something out of me that I haven't gone and done before. So I really look deep into myself to say, what can I bring out in these Christian stories that people really resonate with? Because that
Mhm.
can't be nothing as the same as I'm doing with the thriller and suspense side.
I do understand that too. It's like you're giving out books that are giving people a new sense of hope. Like, I do believe in divine intervention. I do believe that God gives people a second chance. I do believe that people call on God, He answers, He gives them a second chance at life. I do believe that
Yes, ma'am.
happens. And for other people out there to be able to read a book that will correlate to that exact idea and that it can actually happen, I think that's great. I think it's really good. I want to read
Yes,
that one too. As soon as it comes out, let
it's
me know
coming
so
out.
I can get me a copy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now we're going to ask you a question that I like to ask all my guests out there. So,
Mhm.
for all the young folks out there, all the young authors, what bit of advice would you give to them to help them on their journey if they wanted to be just like you right now?
That it's not by coincidence. If you've been having these thoughts about you making it and things that you can do, you know what you can do. Because in each and every one of us, there's something that we can do that nobody else can do. God instills that into us. We might not know it right then and there, but it takes time. Like with writing, this is not something that I just woke up and wanted to do. Originally, I had studied and did classes to be a funeral director because that's what all I wanted to be was a funeral director and mortician. And then when that didn't pan out, I was like, I did write a book one time in high school. It got really good reviews from my peers and classmates and teachers. I was like, God, one day at work, I was like, I want to kind of drift into something different. And then I heard a voice say, "What about your writing? What about your writing?" And I was like, maybe let me give it a shot again. Because I had taken a long break after graduation, because that's when the last time I wrote a book was in 2007. I jumped back in it in 2000 and what 24, late 2024, 2025. And I was like, maybe, hopefully, God, you give me the strength to do this again. So, but it was like riding a bicycle. Once I picked the pen back up and it just took off from there. I was like, maybe, this is what I was supposed to be doing. So if you have it in them and they know what they can possess, you may go through a lot of adversity and a lot of doubt from other people, but stay strong and stick to what you know. That's what's going to get you to where you need to be, knowing your inner gut and listen to your inner gut. That's what I would tell anybody that's coming up and through the ranks to become an author.
Mhm. I think that's really great advice. And piggybacking on that question, like for you being an author and you're like starting over, and you said you took a break there.
Mhm.
So how did you overcome that? Like, because when you come back stronger, you come back ready, you come back, focused on what, you're supposed to be doing out there, the power in your voice. How did you motivate yourself to start again?
I had to sit down and just kind of like get in the room off to myself. And I was like, if I'm going to go back and be an author and start writing again, I have to come back strong with something that's going to excel and put me like, show people that, I'm serious. Because when I first started the roles of going back and doing this again, people thought I was just like playing and them not serious. And like, he's probably just doing stuff for attention. And I had said, no, I'm not doing this for attention. I love books and I love writing. This is something that I want to do for the long haul. How no matter how long it takes, I'm going to stick to it until maybe God says this ain't for me. But in my heart, I feel and I know that it is for me. So I'm going to keep going and keep trying as much as possible as I can. And from the revenue of it, I started out with just a little noise, and now it's kind of growing little by little by little by little by little. But I know that God is moving me in different directions and showing me that, this is probably what you were supposed to have been doing all along.
Mhm. I think that's great. I think that's a great way to understand whether it's your time or not, to come up and just do and focus and keep going and, let go of all the negativity that,
Hmm.
just let it go behind you. Like that's
Yes.
that's one of the things that I think a lot of people need to just understand. Like
Yes.
what's for you is for you. What God has for
Hmm.
you is for you. Your purpose that He gave you is for you. It's not for them. It's not for that person over there. It's not for the person behind you. It's for you. So you just got to
Yes.
keep going. Just got to keep going. Oh
And I
my gosh.
always
Mhm.
try to applaud everybody else. Like when it's somebody else's time, you always supposed to say congratulations. It's their time. Don't sit back and say why they get it and why not me. It wasn't your time yet. It's all in due time. So I always try to be supportive with my fellow authors and other entrepreneurs when things come, when it's their time, it's their time. Always be supportive.
Absolutely. Because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of courage to put out a book, especially,
Oh yeah.
writing one, writing a story, even like telling yourself on your journey in a book. That's a big step too.
Yeah, I feel that I'm writing these books, but eventually there's going to become a time where I feel that I need to reflect and write even an autobiography, even over my own life. So eventually, when I get to a point where I feel that it's time, I'll have to sit down and write out my own life story. So,
Mhm. I would like to read that one. I would like to know Darrell Johnson. Who is the real Darrell Johnson? Oh man, I think that's great. I did at one point. I have an unpublished book. It's called Reese's Walk. It's basically talking about a single mom with 4 kids. And she
mhm.
meets the man that God sent her after she had the 4 kids. So I haven't finished that one yet. So when it comes out, I'll let y'all know.
You gotta get back to working on it.
I will. I definitely will. A lot of my author friends have told me that I needed to go ahead and finish that, but I needed to add a
Mhm.
couple chapters in there that are kind of missing in
Mhm.
content. So as soon as I get that done, then I'll go over it again for sure.
Yes.
So I want to talk about this award that you got for writing.
Mhm.
So this award that I saw on your Facebook page, tell me
Mhm.
about that.
Is it from the International Impact? That
I
one?
think so. I think so.
Yes.
Mm.
That one was for I think I have the book right here. This book. Let me show people out there. It's this one. That's titled Souls Anchored. That one won an award with the International Impact Book Awards. Book is entitled A Reflection of there was a lady that's by the name of Mary Sue, and she was a pastor at a church. Not at first, but her mother was. And her mother, she was raised through the church, always to do the right thing and be a church lady. And when the time came, her mother got ill from cancer. And then the congregation was looking and saying, who can we have, to step up to the plate now that your mother's sick and ill? And she said that, I've been around it my whole life, so I would have to slide into the role myself. And she does that. She's comfortable with doing it. It's like riding a bicycle. And then all of a sudden, she just gets tired of it. And we all have that point. I feel that, I don't know, like, maybe if pastors and pastors' kids, they get tired eventually and you feel like you need a break or something. But in this story, she gets tired of being a pastor and she's like, I'm just tired of it. I've checked out, you know, I need a break. So she leaves the church and finds a job as be a school teacher. But little does she know that that's not what God wanted for her. And so she starts getting into bad things like drinking and just being, down a lot because like the next few couple of days, her mom dies of cancer. So that takes her really, really, really down. And she's just like, I'm checked out of life now. So one day she goes to walk in a park. It's raining. She thinks that maybe she's intoxicated, but she's not. And it's like angels. She see an angel comes down, and she asks the Lord, like, "Am I dreaming?" And the angel tells her, "No, you're not dreaming." And she says, "Why did you leave? The church? That was your calling. God has a special calling for you. Why did you leave the church?" And she says, "I got tired. I got tired of preaching. I got tired of being in church. And so the angel says this, so you left and become a teacher. And what are you doing there? She says, I'm teaching and helping students. And he says, well, isn't that the same thing that you do in church? You helping people, right? And she says, kinda in a way, but it's not the same thing. And so the angel says, well, God does not want you to be there. Your job is to be in the church preaching and saying, telling God's word. So she says, if that's what God wants me to do, then God will come tell me myself, himself. So the angel leaves, and then a couple of days go by. She's still dreaming and sad about her mom. So she goes to bed. She hears the Lord's voice, and he says, Mary Sue. She don't think nothing of it. So he says it again two more times. And so she just jumps up out of her sleep, and she says, who is that? And he says, of course, this is the Lord's voice. Why did you leave what I called for you to do? And she says, that's not where I'm supposed to be. How do you know that's not where you're supposed to be? I have designed special assignments for you to do. You are to go back and be in the church and lead and help out. So she goes back to sleep, thinks nothing of it, goes back to teach. And then one day an incident happens with the student. So she has to step in because this child says that there is no God. He doesn't believe in God. And so she thinks for a minute, like, uh-oh, why did she say that? There is a God. So she sees that as a wake up call that, God's not playing. Something's wrong here. So she decides to go back into the church. But when she does, somebody else has stepped up and took over. So she's like, wait a minute here. I'm supposed to be here. And they're like, well, you left. So we're moving on without you. So she has to go and get this all type of support again and work her way back up to where she was supposed to be. And then she goes to like outside to catch a breather. So the guy tells her, that was a lesson. You didn't least listen to me. So now you have to work your way all the way back up again to prove yourself. But the moral of the story is she left a position that she was supposed to be in, thinking that that's what's best for her. But the whole time, she's there to do God's work and to help God's people. I like
I
this
love
story
that.
because I kind of say it's not a real life story, but you kind of know what you're supposed to be at in the story. God gives us positions and jobs and goals, and sometimes we don't even know that's where we're supposed to be at, and we leave and go do something else, and you be like, I don't like this, and this don't feel right. Maybe I was supposed to be doing something else. You always know. I always say God gives you signs and intuitions of what you're supposed to do, where He's supposed to lead you, and things that you're supposed to go and do. So the moral of the story is this story is that she didn't listen, but God stepped in and told her that's where you're supposed to be.
Mhm. And I can understand that too, because there's a lot of people out there who are not walking in their purpose because they're choosing their own destiny. Lo and behold, God always has the final say so, and He will always put you right on track.
Yes, ma'am.
One way,
Yes,
shape,
ma'am.
or form.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Johnson, I just want to tell you thank you for gracing my podcast. I
Yes, ma'am.
feel like it was a really awesome interview. I feel like I got to know you a whole lot more this time, lot
Yes, ma'am.
on a better, more personal level. And I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you for what you're doing. Like, it takes
Thank
a
you.
lot to write a book.
Yes, ma'am. It took a lot of time and thinking and planning, but it's a long and hard. But it's been kind of tough. But I've listened to what God wanted me to do. Sometimes I write things and He instructs me that, no, don't put that out yet. Put out a certain topic that I want people to hear. There's a message in here that I want people to hear with this story. So go with this story. And I have to listen and be like, okay, so He told me to put this out. This is what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I encourage you to continue to do the same thing over and over again. Just keep listening, keep going, keep vibing, keep doing your thing
Yes,
for
sir.
sure. So, for all of our viewers out there, this completes our interview with Mr. Johnson. Please go get his books on Amazon. Derail Johnson, his author name. It will pop up with all his books. And please go follow What's Up Dallas Magazine, a What's Up Dallas Magazine podcast. And we will be back with another interview. Bye,
Bye
guys.
bye.